Welcome to Ghosty Talk Shows. Lead from within.
Find your own voice.
Challenges we have had to overcome in 2020.
Find your own voice.
The world has become united by the unseen, knowing there are no guarantees for tomorrow.
Lead from within.
Find your own voice.
Let the world hear your voice and be filled within.
For the day has come for you to be a great leader.
The time has come to break away from the pain, distraction, experience the unthinkable.
Welcome to Ghosty Talk Shows. Over to you, John. Please introduce yourself to our audience.
Thank you, Nomsa. Relationships, the core of the quality of your life. A study from Yale University took 75 years into studying how you create happiness and fulfillment in your life. And they concluded that at the end of that 75-year study, that the key to living a fulfilled quality life is the quality of your relationships. They have such an impact on all areas of your emotional, mental, physical well-being, your ability to succeed in life, whether you've got the right type of people around you, and the impact of those is immeasurable if they're not healthy for you. You may find that you've experienced relationships in the past that have caused you a lot of pain and discomfort. Maybe you've jumped in and out of relationships because you didn't really know how to connect at a deeper level. You could have just avoided relationships, focused on other areas of your life because you didn't think the relationships were the right thing for you. Or you didn't know how to create a healthy, intimate relationship or a happy relationship in your life. And that's what I do as a coach, as a relationship coach, as the relationship guy. I help people to create healthy and intimate relationships, a level of connection that maybe they've never experienced before, an allowance of the good things that relationships can bring, and how to make healthy, positive choices. You're on silent.
Thank you so much. John. So our topic is what to do and not to do when you first start dating. That is a very, very excitement topic. Basically, some people worry about so many things when they start dating somebody. They start worrying if that person is gonna like them, and which is take the fun out of a relationship. Some people, they start worrying about if they are good enough for that person. Some people, they worry about the other way around, whether they've chosen the right person. Basically, it becomes the whole big mixed up. But some people, they know exactly what they want. They enjoy the ride in that relationship. So what has been your experience, Johnkenny, for basically coaching women starting dating?
Yeah, I'll just tell you from my personal, what you were just saying there, my personal experience of dating is one that you just said. I always wore a mask, a facade. I always went in with an idea of what I thought someone wanted me to be, and would act in a specific way to try and get people to like me. I try and figure them out what they wanted, and then I'd act in a specific way to try and make that happen. A lot to do with obviously the relationship I had with myself, but that then brought to the relationship were terrible because, you know, I was trying to sell myself as somebody else. But I also had a set of relational beliefs around the insecurities that relationships brought as well. So I was always looking for red flags I was always looking for an excuse to escape and get out of relationships. So I'd start dating someone, and then I'd think, oh, look, this is not quite right. If this goes anywhere, this always gives me an excuse to end the relationship and leave. And it is something that, as you mentioned, on my kind of niche area, my coaching areas, I work with professional women over 40 to help them to create healthy, intimate relationships. And the things that they have a tendency to do, I mean, there's a list of things that will stop people kind of getting into those relationships. But one of those is that fear of sort of dating and putting yourself back out into the world again if you haven't done that for a while, or if you just do that on a regular basis, you just keep dating after date after date after date. And again, that is about getting you into the right mindset to be able to date, to know what you want in a relationship, and being able to figure out, who you are when you go into these things. But there are lots of different things that people might do when they first start dating that causes them lots of problems when they first start, such as I said, like putting on a performance. You're not really your authentic self because you believe you need to perform, you need to try and make someone laugh, or you need to they need to find you engaging, they need to be interested in you, or you'll do something else. You'll just kind of put all your stuff to one side and you're trying to like listen to them and ask them questions and not really kind of make an authentic and be yourself in those spaces. So it's about kind of getting yourself in that right frame of mind when you go out into the dating world, to know exactly what you're looking for in somebody, to know what you would like to give to a relationship. The work that I do with my clients, we do a lot about what your want list is. So what kind of things do you want in somebody? Some people think that's very selfish kind of stance to take. It's not something that we generally do. Although we do have a tendency to do a lot about what we don't want in a relationship rather than what we do want. But one thing that we don't generally consider is, what do I want to give to a relationship? How much of myself am I wanting to give, prepared to give, will allow myself to give to somebody else? And how much am I going to hold back? So there's lots of things to consider if you find that going out on dates is something that you probably might not be very good at, that you don't look forward to, that you find difficult, that you kind of had enough of, given up on. And yeah, there's lots of things we're going to discuss as we go through. And I've got a list of things to avoid to do when dating, which we'll go through later on, and things that we can do also to create a more positive relationship.
Thank you so much, Joan. I think I like the part where you say you basically used to go out and you listen to that person, what they want, and then you start acting that way, so that person, they're gonna like you. I think we are all guilty of that. Before I go into personal development, I used to be like that as well. So if somebody tells me this is what I want, this is what I'm looking for, and I'm looking for this kind of girl, and this is what I want, I want to do this, and I'm gonna start behaving that way, trying to fit in. But although I had my own list of the things that I wanted, but I would just push them away and start dating that person, but the relationship wouldn't work because of frustration, because you are no longer you. So although you have selected that person, you have selected them under false pretense, so that relationship is not going to work. Basically, like you are saying, that you have to basically know what you want in that relationship. So for me, I had to look at both sides. What am I bringing into this relationship when I go into personal development? If I want this person, do I really understand their lifestyle? Do I really what my wants. I had to write down the things that I want. I had to write down the things that I'm bringing at the table, so that when I go out, if I'm on a date, I just have fun. But at the same time, I have to have that awareness of who I am and who am I with at that moment, without coming in a place of judgmental. And if that person wasn't the person that I wanted, I would gently say to myself, no, Nomsa, that is not the right guy for you. But before, I wouldn't say, no, that is not the right guy. I would just date. As long as someone has a good job, they are good looking, they are telling me what I want to hear, that's good enough for me. So, and few years down the line or few months down the line, the relationship is not what I expected to be. So then I'll just hold on to it, hoping that I'm going to change this person with my attitude. They're going to change. They're going to become what I want. But it never happens. Because in that moment, I was in my own world where I thought that people would change because of that's what you want. People will change if you tell them what you want. They will change, become that. But in relationship, it's not like that. It's completely different. When I started getting it, I was like, oh my God, what have I been doing? So that has been my story. So I can relate to you when you're telling how you used to be. Yeah. I can relate to you.
Yeah, and that's the kind of person I would have been. I'd have been the person that would have given you what you wanted. You know, I would have gone into a date with you and we would have talked and I'd have tried to figure you out. Because it was all about acceptance for me. It was all about how am I going to get you to accept me? And the only way I knew how to be accepted was to be something that I thought you wanted. So, you know, I would have been that person that would have been exactly what you were looking for, but actually completely the wrong person for you. Because, you know, what happens then a few months down the line is I then decide to show who I really am, and the person that I've kind of tricked in a way to get to like me, I've pretended to be something that I'm not. And then 6 months or so, whatever it takes, you know, maybe even quicker than that, I'd start to show a different side of myself and stop trying to fit into what they wanted. And then they're like, who are you? Who is this person that I'm now dating? Because this isn't the person that I met. And then they would reject me anyway, because, you know, they've fallen for or like the person I'm pretending to be. And therefore, whenever I start to show my real self, they're like, I don't know if, you know, they might like it, but it's unlikely that if you've modified yourself that much to fit in, that when you do start to sort of talk a little bit more about what you want, show a little bit more about who you are, they're going to reject that anyway, because they go, I don't know this person. You're not the person that I first met. You're not the person that I've, you know, developed this relationship with. And then I would come away from that kind of space and feeling again rejected and like that I wasn't good enough. But it was me that was setting that all up because I'd put on a facade in the first place. Whereas if I'd just gone into this as myself and been myself and shown this person who I really am, and again, I must say that a long time I didn't know who that was. You know, I was so confused about the person I was. I wouldn't have known me if I'd have stood in front of a mirror and poked myself in the eye. I wouldn't have recognized that. So kind of recognizing, you know, and so then again, we come back to that self-development that you mentioned just now. You know, you needed to work on yourself in order to be happy with who you are, and then know what you want, and then you go out into the world and you're looking for someone to fit into that. So someone that's going to complement your life, someone that's going to match your values, someone that's going to have the same outlook, someone that's going to want the same sort of ambitions and the same sort of goals and is kind of looking forward in the same space as you are, and being able to be yourself in that space. So then you'll know if you're a match or not. And then if they don't like you the first few times they meet you, that's fine. because you're just not supposed to. You're not a match, and that's good. And that's good to know that, because if you then try and cross that further down the line when there's more feelings involved, but it's about you having that inner confidence to go, do you know what? If this doesn't work, that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with me. That just means this just didn't work.
Thank you so much, Jen. That is so true, because it is very, very important how you show up when it comes to relationship. Because when you say like you pretend to be something that you're not, and your real self will show up somehow, and then the woman will be like, ho, who is this coming up here? I didn't meet you, so I need that John that agreed. So you have two people, and you end up getting rejected, or yourself you end up wanting out to come out of that relationship. So it's very, very important basically to stick to your values, to stick to your beliefs, and basically write down, basically be aware of who you are as a person when you meet somebody. If that person doesn't like you that moment, it is okay, because we are not meant to be liked by everybody. So if that person says, okay, I don't think we are going to be a match, I think it is amazing than trying to actually fit in with something that you don't belong. Because in a few years down the line, you are going to be frustrated, and that person are going to be frustrated as well. So this is what I did as well. I had to search within who is Nomsa, and I had to basically show up as me when I meet people, instead of worrying about what I was gonna. I wouldn't worry about what I'm gonna dress, because I always look nice. So when I go out, I make sure that I'm not overdressed. I just go out as me, wearing something that I like, something that represents me. And when I meet that person, I don't worry about whether they're gonna like me. I started, which is an attitude that is really, really hard to actually work on. Meeting somebody, showing up as you, not worrying whether they're gonna like you, whether they're not gonna like you. So I had to show up as me. When I communicate with someone, I just ask the questions. Nomsa, what does Nomsa like when you go out for dinner? When Nomsa is at home, what do you like? I had to show up as me instead of pretending. Just enjoy my date like normal. You know, like in Africa, basically we are taught to communicate properly, because we don't have lots of gadgets. I didn't have a TV when I was growing up, and no TV. I met TV when I was 16.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. My mom's house, they had TV. My daddy's house, because my parents remarried. My daddy's house, we didn't have TV. I spent time outside. So I communicated a lot with my family, asking questions. But then when you come to this country, and then that's when I lost myself, because I was trying to fit in. I'm a Black African woman, but I was trying to behave like English, like you guys, which it doesn't work. Honestly, it doesn't work. So I'm going to speak the truth. But then when I started my personal development, I started realizing, actually, this is Nomsa. That Nomsa does not exist. So I find that when I met men, they were being honest with me, saying, Nomsa, I like you. You are a very nice person. But when it comes to relationship, I don't think it's going to work. And that I enjoyed going on dates and stuff. And that's when my agency began. Because when I started realizing, when you meet men on dating sites, they have this mind that every woman wants to sleep with them. Honestly, you go on a date, they buy you a meal, and then after the meal, they're like, would you like a drink? I'm like, I don't drink. And they're like, oh, you know, I live far. Would you mind if I stay at yours? I'm like, no, you don't. You're not staying at mine. We came here for a date. You're going home. So I'm like, no, honey, you're going home. I'm going to my house.
Yeah.
So I was like, then I went a few days and I was like, I'm giving up with these dating sites. It's not working out. But I met some amazing people, and I met some really guys who were like, we had the mind that once I pay for a girl for a meal, we have to go and sleep together. I was like, no, in my world, that's not how it is. So I don't know whether have you ever met girls like that in your own dating journey, or how has been your experience yourself? Bad experience and good.
Yeah, so I grew up dating in the 80s and 90s. So back then it was interesting. I was having a conversation with someone about this the other day, and we were listening to some songs, and it was all about sex and shaking your booty and doing things and all this kind of stuff. And I said, do you remember when we were growing up, the songs were all about love? They were about love making and love, and they weren't all about shagging and sex and all these kind of stuff. And so when we dated, it was, you'd take someone out on a date, you'd buy them a drink or go out for dinner or whatever it was. But it was very rare that you'd expect then for that to go any further on a first date. It was like you did the courting, which again has an expression which probably doesn't really exist in today's society, that you do some courting. You would have a few dates, or you'd have, and before the relationship developed into something else. But I think as I've got older, I've noticed there are more people that I wouldn't say they expect sex, but are quite willing to have sex on a first date, which is something that was quite a strange thing for me, because it wasn't anything I'd experienced when I first started dating. So yeah, that was quite an odd thing. I guess as adults now, as at my age, I think it's if it's a thing that's going to happen, it's going to happen naturally, regardless. But I think if you've got an expectancy that that's going to happen, I think that's it's maybe more of a generational thing now, because sex is so readily talked about, available to see, that I think there is a different expectation about what dating is now, and I'm back in that world again at the moment, but I've not experienced anything too untoward so far. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, that we have this. I think that's why your matchmaking site is much better than a dating site or a dating app, because you are matching people together. Dating sites, I've had so many people talk to me recently about dating sites, and if I'm allowed to say cockpicks on here, they have these conversations with people, and they're sending them pictures of their private parts, and they haven't even been out yet. And it's like so strange. I mean, again, this world of phones and stuff that you can take pictures on, and I know that this is a little bit more normal nowadays. But this just seems really strange that these, I'm having these talking to these women, and they're saying like, I've come off the dating apps. I've had like 2 or 3 conversations with this person on text, and they're sending me a picture of their private parts already. And it's a really strange space, which hopefully they don't do on your matchmaking. I'm sure they don't. You wouldn't tolerate and have people like that on your books. But there is a very different perception, I think, now of an expectation because of the readily available kind of access to sexual material. There's an episode of Friends which always makes me laugh, but I guess is more real nowadays than maybe it was even back in the 90s when it was on. And Joey and Chandler get free porn on their TV set, and they don't know where it's coming from. And they watch this porn because they've got it for free. And then the pizza person knocks at the door, and one of the guys says, and they delivered pizza and they didn't want to sleep with me. He said, I didn't understand it. He said, I think we've been watching too much of this porn. And it's interesting that they made that connection like back in the 90s, that, watching all of this gave them an expectancy that someone would just want to walk into the door and want to have sex with them. So I guess we need to just be kind of mindful of that.
Right. Hi, Kamal says it's called deflating now, not courting. Unfortunately, the education of chivalry and leadership is etiquette has been forgotten. Etiquette has been forgotten. So anyway, I think we do need, women are complaining as well. They're saying there's not many gentlemen nowadays because of this texting and sexing. But with the matchmaking is completely different. There is no such thing as texting. You basically, you're not allowed to text. That is part of the contract. You're not allowed to text with a woman because the texting somebody is a school child to text somebody, but adult don't text. You call, you make a phone call, and you text after when you're arranging or when you're busy. But for the first time, it's phone calls and arrangements, and then basically you arrange. If you get given the introduction on Friday or Monday, you have to arrange to go out on a Saturday. You're not allowed to video chat. You're not allowed to text. So basically you arrange a meeting by phone, and then you tell this person that this is where I'm gonna be, this is where we are going. You choose where you want to go, and then you have to communicate over the phone so you get used to each other, feeling comfortable. But texting basically is part of the contract, is not allowed. So basically, I don't think anyone will pay lots of money to send their part of the body to a woman when it comes to matchmaking, because their contract will be terminated. So there are no games. So, but with the dating, I think that's what life is about. I think dating sites needs to charge more money so people, before they want to get into dating and playing with other people, they will think about it, so that serious people can enter that site, maybe do more secure as well. I think that way, then it will help other people.
Yeah, I think there's no real effort, is there, in dating apps?
No.
You don't have to put any kind of groundwork in. You don't have to put any kind of time in. You just go on there and kind of swipe and whatever you do, and you kind of go through a list of people that you find attractive without even looking at their bio. You don't know anything about them, which I guess, when you meet someone face to face, it's not their bio that you're interested in. So I understand that physical attraction is generally the first thing that we like about somebody. But then, like you said, that conversation, when I was dating, there weren't any dating apps and even dating sites when I was a young man, and it was all about conversation. You had to talk to someone to get to know them, to whether you liked them or not. And then it was a telephone call. If you wanted to arrange another date, you picked up the phone, you had a conversation. So I like the way that you do that in order to create a different space, like a more connected space with somebody, so that they get to know each other a bit more before it becomes a bit less of an effort. And I think, like with the dating apps and stuff now, there's just no effort. It's like, I can send you a message, I can tell you I like you, and then I don't really have to do much else, and then I'm expecting to sleep with you if I take you out. It is a different world. And I can see why people get so confused about what it all means. And I completely agree. I think there needs to be something chargeable, so people are investing at least something of themselves, even if it's financial, into the kind of the dating world. If not, go out and meet someone. You want to go somewhere free, just go and sit in a coffee shop and chat someone up. But actually, going out and meeting people. And that's what I do with my clients. I encourage them to go and find a space. I've got a client at the moment. She's really lucky. She's moved to a place which is near a marina. She's got parks. She's got a library. She's got all of these different things around her, and she's never even considered just going to these places and sitting and being, and she's always on dating apps and dating sites and stuff to look for somebody, and she's having so much more engagement now that she's actually saying, I'm just going out and I'm sitting, I'm having coffee by myself, I read my book, I'll sit in the park, I'm sitting down by the marina, and people are just stopping and chatting, and I'm starting to really build my confidence with all of this interaction with different people. And she's having some really kind of nice conversations, and a couple of dates have arisen from that. And it's again putting yourself out there to be seen, but then we need to work on that confidence. I know a lot of people will hide behind dating apps and dating sites and stuff because of maybe a level of confidence that they don't have. And I think again, even more important that that there is some kind of investment, maybe financially, from the other people as well. Because again, if you're shy and or introverted in some way, and you're not that confident in yourself, then a dating app is probably a good way for you to be seen without engaging too much. But the kind of people you might be then attracting to you might not be the healthiest for you.
It's so true, because you have to get out of your comfort zone. Basically, if you don't go out, get out of your comfort zone. Basically, like now we have mobile phone where we can hide, like you're saying, we can hide behind the dating side. But if you go out, you can meet someone at Sainsbury's, you can meet someone at Tesco's, you can meet someone at Waitrose or whatever supermarket you shop, or clothing line where you shop, wherever the shops where you shop, you can meet somebody. Or at the train station, the bus stop, you can meet someone anywhere, as long as you're willing to say hello to people. I say hello to people. Sometimes people, maybe they're like, I've realized that because of my energy, like when I see someone, if I have my earphones on, I take them off and I say hello. And I just do that because you have to practice to be normal. Otherwise, if you are somebody, like you're saying, your clients, she started going to the library, she started going out and just meeting people like normal people. And also, it's like if you go to the pub, people don't know the good way to meet people is to make friends with their bartenders. If you make good friends with the bartenders and you tip them well, and you let them know that I am single, when they do, because these bartenders, they meet people every single day. So when they do meet somebody, they do see somebody who is single like you, somebody who has a good job, who is working very hard, who is lonely. They'll be like, oh, by the way, you said you were single, right? Oh, I know someone who is single over there. So that's how basically you actually meet people if you are single. And even matchmakers, that's how we find clients. So you tip the bartenders very well and say, I'm looking for a wealthy client who is single. If you see them, or sometimes we look at their watch, what they watch, the labels they wear, the clothing that they wear, or the cars that people drive and stuff. And then I go and say, hi, are you single? And they're like, oh, why are you asking? And then I'll be like, start talking and pretending as I'm single as well. And then I'll be like, by the way, I'm a matchmaker. Here's my card.
Yeah.
You are looking for love. Get in touch with me. I'll be happy to help you. Or I speak to the bartenders. If you know anyone who is single, please, I'm sitting over there. Can you please introduce me to them? Right. Because the women, they basically don't want to meet them because they're shy. Basically, or sometimes I just take a book and go to the pub. Lonely men will come and say, what are you reading? Or if I see a man basically sitting there waiting to watch football, I go and introduce myself. Oh, are you waiting for the football? I love it too.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll start talking, and I'll be like, don't worry, chill. I'm in a relationship, chill. So they're like, chill, just chill out. I'm in a relationship. So what is your story? So you start talking to people, and then that's how you actually meet people. Because if you actually know the pain and what you've gone through, and you want to get rid of that pain, you want to get out of that pain, get out of that chain where you've chained yourself, you're gonna have to do things differently. You're gonna have to go and meet people. And also when you work on your character and your image, your image is all about your true authenticity of who are you as a person, not trying to fit in with anyone. I tried to fit in a long time ago, but at this minute, I don't have time to fit in with anyone. I just become like myself. And I remember when I met Martin, because I knew that I'm always happy, and instead of me pretending, and I always like, you are always smiling. And even when I met you, I'll see you dancing on stage and you'll be smiling. I'll be like, I was enjoying myself. And because when everybody else is waiting to get drunk so they can go and dance on stage, I don't drink. So I'll just go and have fun and basically enjoy the music. But it's something that I had to work on. You have to work on that. Basically, not judging yourself, because when you judge yourself, you're holding your life back. So you have to unleash that giant within. So you have to be yourself.
Yeah, no, that's a subject I cover in my documentary when we talk about how alcohol allows you to release certain parts of yourself that you're maybe restricting otherwise. I mean, like you said, your level of personal development's got you to a stage where you're just happy to express yourself in whichever way you see fit. But a lot of people, and myself included up to a certain point in my life, it was very strange that when I was younger, when I used to do athletics, I used to run for Great Britain when I was in my late teens and early 20s. So when I used to go out clubbing and stuff, I'd never drink, but I'd still dance, and I'd still be on the dance floor with all my mates and still be having a laugh. And then some point in my life, I became very self-conscious of that, that I needed a drink in order to let myself go, because there were parts of my self that I didn't accept, and I wouldn't allow myself to be seen when I was sober. But when I'd had a drink, it released that kind of constriction and the conscious parts of my brain that were keeping me hidden, and I would allow those parts to come out. And through the personal development, I'm now able to go to certain places and do certain things which maybe I wouldn't have done before if I hadn't have had a drink inside of me. But somewhere in my life, something switched, and I became very self-conscious. And I think the years of kind of suppression of myself, and then the difficult relationships I then continued to have through my life, made me feel less and less worthy. And in my documentary, I talk about that and how we need to re-engage with those parts of ourselves so that we can be whole, we can be authentic, we can be real, and we can feel confident in order to be ourselves in any given situation. And that's one of the things that we come back to, kind of what to do when you date someone. And it's definitely something I advocate with my clients is understanding who you are, being happy with that person that you are, and allowing everybody else to see that, being that congruent and authentic self when you go out into the world to meet new people. And even if it's not to date, even if it's just, like you said, to spark up conversation, just to engage with somebody, just to get used to talking to people, just to get used to being yourself while you're talking to people. Because that's another thing that comes up, is that if I'm in a relationship where it's not a romantic relationship, or whether I have no inclinations for it to turn into a romantic relationship, it's much easier to be yourself. Although some people still struggle with that as well. But actually, if there's no kind of intimate deeper level of connection that might happen. We don't look for so much of the acceptance. We don't look so much to belong and to fit in. And we are able to be ourselves. And that's the kind of person that we need to be in an intimate relationship as well. But there seems to be a little bit more pressure placed upon us in our own minds when it becomes more intimate. Like, you need to be accepted. You want them to like you. You want them to end up perhaps loving you. And you've got this idea in your head that when you meet this person, are they going to be the right person for you? Are they the person you're going to settle down with? And I think another way we need to kind of step away from some of that pressure that we place upon ourselves when we first start dating as well, because you are just getting to know somebody. You might want to have a relationship, you might want to have a long-term relationship, you might want to settle down and find the right person for you, but again, it's not really the right attitude to take into a dating scenario. It's just about you being yourself, allowing yourself to get to know somebody, and then deciding whether this is going to be the right type of person for you to be with.
I think you have to be you and allow yourself to have fun, because if you have selected that person, basically you say, okay, I've been on this date with this person for a few days now or a few weeks, but we seem to be getting along. So there is no point in wondering whether, are we going to get married? Are we going to do this? Are we going to do this? You just have to live in that present moment. As long as you come to an agreement knowing that this is what he wants, you want to have kids, they want to have kids, you want to get married, they want to get married, because you cannot enter a dating with somebody knowing that you want to have children and they don't want to have children and hoping that they're going to change their mind. It's never going to happen. Or you have a mind of, I want to get married. Marriage is my values, is my beliefs, my family values. So I want to get married. And you date somebody who does not want to get married. And you're hoping that things are going to change. So if there is an agreement that, listen, if I find the right girl for me, you can't say to somebody, yes, I'm going to marry you. So obviously you just say, okay, if somebody asks you questions, would you like to get married one day? Yes, of course. That is 100% if that's what you want. Of course, if I find the right person, because you can't assume that because you are getting along with somebody, that is the girl for you. So of course, if I find the right person, why not? We get along. Yes, we're gonna get married. We're gonna have children. I don't mind doing all that stuff. That is my family values. That is my values, and that's what I really want. Or completely, I don't want to have children and I don't want to get married. Some men, they've done it before. Some women, they've done it before. They feel like it's not something that they want to go through it. So being honest that moment. But then if everything has been agreed and you get along with somebody, just have fun. Instead of worrying about what's going to happen tomorrow, have fun. If you stop worrying, because my character, when I change, stop worrying about, is this person going to like me? What's going to happen in a year's time? I lived in that moment, having fun, enjoying my relationship. And sometimes he will call me and say, Nomsa, would you like to go on a date? I'll say, I'm busy. Today, I won't be able to make it. Can we try it some other time? While I wasn't busy, I was just sitting on the sofa watching TV. I call the shots. So I'm like, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to play hard to get, but I need to get this idea of making my own decision, not somebody making decisions for me. So like sometimes I'll be like, if I'm free, if it rings, I will not do it every day. I did it twice or three times. And I'll be like, no, I'm busy. Or if he says, let's go out, I'll be like, let's go out. And when we do go out, we're going to have fun. I'm not going to start doing this. I'm not going to start worrying. I just make sure that I have fun. I make sure that this person, he meets the real me. My mistakes, my flaws, my strength, my weaknesses, he meets all that, not something that is put on, because it doesn't work.
No,
I've done
definitely.
it before, it doesn't work. Or sometimes if he likes Indian, if he says let's go for Indian, I'll make sure that I know what kind of food, Indian food that I'm getting into. I'll say, explain please the menu. I need to see the menu before I won't be like saying, oh, whatever you want, to choose whatever you want. I'll say, okay, if you like Indian, let me see the menu, because I know that I'm not fussy with food. I like different, all different foods. So if it's something that is good, I'll say, let's go. It sounds good to me. Let's go and experience the experience. So we just go have fun. But with the heights, if you say let's go for heights, I'm like, no, thank you. I don't do heights. I did it once with him and my daughter. I just wanted to vomit because it was something. I was like, oh my goodness. I was like a roller coaster ride. I was like, I'm not going back there again. And they never went back anyway. So they're fearless. My daughter, she's fearless as well. So it is nice just to be you.
Yeah.
To create that, with the business, we are very, very careful when we are setting up our businesses. So you have to, with the relationship, it is like that as well. You have to have fun.
Yeah, and like you said, you have to do. It's about what you want. Be who you are, and do what you want to do. So if someone's saying something and doing something that doesn't fit with what you want, it's okay for you to say no. It's okay for you to tell them that you're not interested in that type of thing. And again, if they have a problem with that, it's okay maybe if they're disappointed. Because if I was, started dating someone and I said, oh, do you want to go and you want to go to Alton Towers for the day? And they go, oh, no, I don't do roller coasters. I would be disappointed because I love roller coasters. So therefore, it's okay. But then I can find someone else to go on roller coasters with. It doesn't have to be with that person. It's not a make or break whether the relationship's going to work or not, because obviously everybody has different interests. But if someone gives you grief because of it and tries to insist that you do it or force you to do it or whatever it might be, then you don't really want to be with them anyway. And also the opposite to that is if someone gives in too easily. So, oh, I don't really like roller coasters, but I'll come with you anyway. And I'd be like, well, I don't really want you there, because I want to go with somebody that wants to go on the roller coasters with me. I don't want to spend the whole day queuing up for rides and stuff while you're standing there eating candy floss and whatever it might be that you're doing. I don't want to leave you for 2 or 3 hours at a time while I'm in a big queue. So it's okay that if you are with somebody that you have different interests, and you don't have to engage with them, and it would be okay for me to say that. I don't, thanks for the offer, but I don't really want you to be there, because I want to go with somebody that I can share that experience with. Like you said, be very present with somebody. So yeah, there's lots of things maybe that we need to consider, but it's okay for you to say, actually, I don't really want to do that. And if the person gives you a hard time, then clearly they've got an issue that you might not want to be dealing with a little bit further down the line. Because generally, if these things are red flags at the start, they're going to be even bigger red flags as time goes on. I just want to kind of, before we finish, is just to think of a few things that not to do when you are dating. I mean, we've talked about things what you need to do. So there's definitely about being your authentic self. Definitely go out there with an idea of who you want to be and who you are in that space. Things that maybe you shouldn't do. I don't like the word shouldn't, but so if you're with somebody, don't tell them too much emotional stuff about you and your past when you first meet. This is stuff for somewhere a lot further down the line. They don't need to know about your hang-ups straight away. They don't need to know too much about your past straight away, especially if the emotional stuff that's been difficult. And again, if someone's sharing maybe that too much of that with you, then it's just something for you to be aware of, that they might have things that they're still struggling with. And also, unfortunately, if you tell people too much about this at the start, it could be because they're asking you a lot of questions about this. Again, something to be really wary of is that could be something that they could use against you in the future. So a lot of people that do that have a tendency want to find out these things about you, because somewhere in their subconscious they're looking to be able to use it against you in the future, kind of pick on your vulnerabilities and your insecurities. So be very careful about that. Don't come on too strong. Again, an insecurity thing. Generally, if someone comes on strong at the beginning, they could have a need to be loved, a need to be wanted, a need to be accepted. So they are unable to control their emotions. They're really desperate to be with somebody. They've already told you that they love you or they want to marry you, and you've only seen them 2 or 3 times. Be really careful with that, and be careful that you don't do that, because if you are feeling that way as well, then there's probably something going on with maybe your attachment style, or there's something kind of really needy going on inside of you at that point. That means that you're going to really struggle to kind of keep your emotional control. If you feel like you're getting too emotional with this person to start with, something for you to really kind of be checking with. Don't be too rigid in what you think you need. Have an idea, like we said, about what you want. It's really important to think about that for a relationship moving forward. But this is dating, it's not an interview. You have your own list of priorities, but if your priorities are wrong, you're might get that wrong as well. But just remember that you're not interviewing someone for a relationship. You're getting to know someone for a relationship. And as I said earlier on, just because they don't want to do one thing or don't really like one thing, it doesn't mean it's a make or break type of thing. And if you're going into a relationship or into a dating scenario and you've got a list of criteria that these people need to meet, then you're probably looking for an excuse not to connect with them in the first place. There's something going on for you about not being able to be close to people, not allowing people in. So just be mindful of that. Understand what you might have learned from your past relationships. Understand what your patterns are, because past patterns are good indicators of what your future results are going to look like. So when you first start dating someone, notice if you are playing out a similar pattern with people. I mean, I was addicted to dating, I think. Dating was something that triggered a need in me. I used to love dating. I wasn't very good at the relationship bit, but I loved dating because I liked getting to know people, and it was all very surface stuff. So be mindful of that. If you like to date a lot, there could be like you're getting a little bit of a dopamine hit, a little bit of a fix from dating different people, but you're also probably not very good at relationships if you really like dating a lot, because you like the newness of all of that. You're not very good at the deeper stuff. Talking of dopamine, we get a bit of a dopamine hit when we're in a new relationship, and that feels good, but to pace yourself and don't move too fast. Really get to know someone before you decide to integrate with them in their life and in your life, before you tell them they're the one for you. And definitely don't ignore your red flags. It's very common that we want a relationship to be okay. We want to date someone. We want to be with someone. And therefore, we overlook all the things that might not be good for us. So definitely keep an eye out for the red flags based on what maybe previous experiences you've had. Don't share too much with the world. Don't be, I'm dating this person. It's absolutely amazing. It's marvelous, and spread that all over your social media. Because they might not want everybody to know, because they're maybe more of a private person. But also what happens then if that relationship doesn't work out, how are you going to feel? Most people I know that have done that in the past have felt quite embarrassed. Some people don't care, but just be mindful how much you share and where you share that with. Don't be too available, as you said earlier on. It can be really tempting to drop everyone and everything when you meet someone new, but that can lead to quite toxic relationships and definitely some kind of codependency. So make sure you're not too available. You don't just drop everything when they want to see you, that you don't always make time for them, that you do what you want to do. If you want to see them, you want to see them, but actually you need to keep a healthy relationships with everybody else in your life. So don't put your friends, family to one side too much, although you're going to want to spend time with someone when you first meet them. If you really like them, that's great, but make sure you don't do that at the expense of everything else. And keep your boundaries in place. Make sure you've got clear boundaries. You understand what you want, what you don't want, what you're allowing, what you don't allow, and set the tone for this from the beginning. So if someone does something you're not particularly keen on at the start, you might want to give them the benefit of the doubt the first time they do it, but definitely don't allow it to continue, because if you're going to be my list of things to be mindful of not to do, or things to avoid, and things that you can do when you first start dating. Seeing as we're nearly out of time, I'm going to stop there.
Thank you so much. My eyes are watery. I don't know why.
It's because I'm making you cry with all my sincerity and honesty.
No, it's like an allergy. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jonah. I actually agree with you. Basically, you have to focus on yourself. It's very, very important, like what you are saying. And get rid of higher expectations as well. I'm just going to add a little bit. And stop the comparison of your exes and your present somebody that you are dating, comparing notes. Stop comparing notes. They are different people, and coming off as like desperate. So you have to get rid of that as well. And like what you're saying, normally what I advise my clients is not to follow their dates on social media. So it's very, very important to actually not follow each other on social media unless you decide to go exclusive, really got to know somebody, because that can cause distraction as well.
Yep.
And
yeah, because it depends where you're coming from your secure space. But I agree with that. But again, if you need to be mindful of, if this relationship doesn't, I suppose you can just remove each other from social media if it doesn't work out. But again, is it something that's appropriate at the start of your relationship to do that? I guess, if you want to know a bit more about them, you might want to flick through, but then again, are you going to be looking at pictures of exes and other things that they've done in the past? And is it going to sit right with you? If it doesn't, then you've probably got something you need to address as well. So just be mindful of that too.
Yeah, that is very, very important. And also remove the checklist. Some people have a long checklist that they start judging people instead of basically enjoying the dating. And also when we say don't be available too much, we're not saying start playing the games. Don't play the waiting games. Don't play games with somebody. Definitely. And I was saying, I sometimes said no. It was that time where I was working on myself, basically teaching myself how to say no. So if you are available, you want to date somebody, there are some women, basically a man who ask them for dates, they will just play hard to get until that man gives up, just because they've been rejected before. So if you really, really like someone and they really want to date you, they really, really just be available in that present moment. Don't play mind games, because women and men, there's been so much games in this world, and some men, some women don't have time for that. You might miss out for something that is very, very important.
Yeah.
So any words of encouragement, John, before we leave?
Definitely. What I was just going to say that I've spoken to some dating coaches in the past, and they teach people how to play the game of dating, and I am so annoyed with them, because there are no games when it comes to dating. It's just about doing what you want to do and being your authentic self. If you want to ring someone, ring them. If you want to text them, text them. If you want to be with them, be with them. Don't play the game. Just be be authentic, be yourself. give what you want to the relationship, give what you want to the dating, and don't treat it like a game.
Clients to play games.
Yeah, no, I've spoken to dating coaches before, and they teach techniques on how to date.
That's damaging dating industry.
It's disgusting, to be honest, in my personal opinion. But people like it. People want to be able to win people over. They want people to like them, and there are people out there who will teach you how to do that, even though it's quite immoral and unethical.
Oh well, maybe if as long as it works for them, but in the real
It
world,
won't work, will it? Because they're going to go out there and put on a show. They're going to be performing, so eventually they're going to have to come clean, and they can do all these things at the start, but you can't maintain it. So it's never going to work anyway.
Any words of encouragement before we leave?
Yeah, be yourself. Work on yourself. Be yourself. Have a want list. Know what you want from when you start dating, but actually don't have a list, like you said, of criteria that you're only going to stick to. And these levels of things, as they move forward, these want lists, they're going to be a deeper level of values and ethics and everything like that. It's not, necessarily what clothes they wear and what they like to drink and all that what kind of smell they wear. They're kind of minor things. It's okay if you don't like some of those things, and if they're too important to you, then fine, you don't date them again. But don't put obstacles in your own way if this actual person could be a more of a deep and meaningful relationship moving forward.
That is so true. For me, is be available. Basically, if you say you're single, be available. And be available to get to know her or get to know him really, really well, because that moment is very, very crucial. That when you select somebody and you want to get to know them and you want to enter the spirit of love and basically with the mindset of my king, how can I serve you? My queen, how can I serve you? Mind of serving and receiving, and just getting to know that person really, really well, enjoying the ride. If things don't work, you write down your good experiences, your bad experiences, you learn from them. And Carol Anna says, never make things wrong, don't make yourself wrong. Just enjoy life.
Enjoy.
So we are here Monday to Friday at Ngozi Talk Shows. So if you are looking to get in touch with one of the speakers, please go to our page, get in touch with them, or you can go to my website and get in touch with them through the website by email. Live with grace, everyone, and God bless you. Have a lovely weekend.